to start on kind of a milestone on how we're getting to this today. And on the first milestone, it says 1998, but probably in 1995, Terry had talked about, we really started looking at meters, automated meters in 1995. So in 1995, we looked at power line meters for automation. And our neighbors, Grace Harbor, also did, and they actually did power line meters at that time. So in 1998, we quoted out power line meters, which are automated, and they came in at $12 to $14 million at that time. And we decided that we didn't do that. Grace Harbor did, and it was cost effective for them, but we went on and joined NOAANET and started a building fiber optic network, and one of our goals was to get fiber optics to the home and get meter reading automated and get it to the home. We also built fiber optic to substations and to PUD facilities, hooked up 20 of our top businesses, and did the KidSat redundant feed out there. From 2002 to present, we also kept doing SCADA, our reclosers, our security cameras, our BPA substation, and just other system benefit upgrades of from our fiber optics. In 2003 forward, we hooked up our Camelchi radio tower. We also performed an AMI pilot test of our north-south mountain, and that was testing out some automatic equipment so we could test to see how it really was going to work for us. So, and we've been doing that since 2012. In 2012 to 2015, we partnered with NOAANET to get the fiber out to our Mason County schools, as well as our cell towers. And this helped get the fiber optics further out into the system, which helps with this decision today. In 2012 to present, we set up a committee of about 12 technical folks in the utility that hits all departments, that, of course, everything's affected. And research was performed on all types of equipment that's available in the market to come up with what's needed. And then a big request for proposal was submitted out to the market. And we received those back. So that's where we're at today. And then we have another milestones, the pros and cons for grid modernization. So we did a full cost benefit analysis with lots of detail, but the summary comes up with the pros of $14.9 million in savings over a 10-year period. And later I'll go over some of the major parts of that, but that's in your packet. The pros of the savings come up with that. It also improves our debt coverage ratio and reduces our operating and maintenance costs. It meets our customer demand for this type of technology. It increases our power quality and reliability, reduces our greenhouse gases, lowers costs from equipment failure, reduces costs due to line losses, or better outage management. It has no rate impact to our customers for this project. Also, employee safety was a pro. It has proven leading edge technology. It leverages our fiber optic network and improves our radio communications opportunity. The cons, of course, it costs $7 million. It's resistance to change by some customers, has a learning curve for our employees, and there also is a small population of employees that have fears, and it does take money out of reserves for the project. So with the cost benefit, so the benefit of 14.9 million, cost of 7 million, leaves 7.9 million to the positive. We're also, obviously, when we estimate the numbers,
Well, it's just when you're ready.
okay. I didn't catch that, sorry.
Are you, I mean, when you're ready with your song, then
Okay, yeah, I'm finished, that's fine. Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
you or staff expand a little
Sure.
bit on better outage management?
Sure,
Staff
yeah.
will be able to see the meters from our system.
Yeah, so we'll be able to see the light for each outage system, every meter out there, and so we'll have so many trucks rolled out, and so we'll know if everybody's up in power instead of having to call back or send people back in, and then later figure out, oh gosh, we forgot 3 customers and we've had to send trucks back out.
So it's almost like each meter will ping, we can ping each meter from our system. And then also, will that help at all with the issue that we have when you have to start bringing up the cold loads?
Yeah, Terry can answer that.
Having the AMI meters will help manage that a little bit more efficiently.
Yes, it will, because we can pull the voltage and the current data from each meter, and so we can have the software total that, and so we'll know exactly how much load we're bringing up.
Makes sense.
And so some of the bigger benefits, from the system was from meter reading, labor costs, as well as the conservation voltage monitoring. So those were the larger parts of the system. So that was directly power supply costs as well as labor costs from those functions. Those directly hit the expense part of the budget or financial statements. And that does help with efficiencies. Let's see, what else did we talk about?
I had a question. Who was the author of the white paper that was presented to us?
Well, it was quite a large group effort, but Sherry started the whole process, and then she got input from the whole team of the
So it was
committee.
really in-house.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can you speak to the effect of fiber expansion? We've had expansion of our fiber system, as you talked about, over a period of years.
Yes.
Would this initiative of grid modernization now affect new line miles for fiber expansion?
Yeah. Well, Terry, you want to start on that?
Yes, along with the number of cell contracts we received last year, we were able to bill out for those, and that put us in areas where we needed the collectors for the AMI project also. And so we were able to build out to satisfy both the commercial end of the cell and put it in for our AMI requirements. Along with a couple of neighborhoods that we had requests for, so like in the Haven Lake area, that put it up in that area too. So that was actually great benefits.
So actually, the cell carriers then are actually helping us with our expansion
Yes.
of our own system.
Yes.
So we were able to piggyback on their reimbursing us for the cell tower construction.
Right, and that,
Costs, and then that's to our benefit. So that's good leverage of money we didn't have to spend to do that.
And then the radio towers will also help public safety for others as well when we get those up. So we suspect that other public entities will want to put up their antennas as well on those sites. So we're looking at Belfair and Tacoma, Lake Cushman area.
And also North Mountain.
North Mountain,
South
yeah.
Mountain, and Dallas Fire Hall.
Yeah, so it helps our radio needs that we have in the county.
Yeah, I've been a large fan of the automated meter reading for many years. I'm glad to see that we're moving and going someplace. And hey, I caught these guys and give me a lunch and explaining it to me privately. I got ahead of you two on that. Anyway, I had a great briefing on it a week ago, and I have some general comments and questions. I see now you've got cons listed.
A few.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. After our discussion.
Yes.
There's a couple more that I would put in there.
Okay.
They may or may not be good or bad. I'd put employee disruption / dislocation.
Yes.
There's going to be some mental problems with that.
Mhm.
And another one that I would probably put there is backup in event of a crash or major failure of the system. And I don't know if those are sure not deal stoppers, but I would put them on the list.
Yeah.
Or think about putting them on the list. And then I go through all of your costs and all of your savings. And my general question on all the savings is, none of those are finite figures. They are best judgment figures.
Mhm. Yeah, estimates.
And there's going to be longs and shorts.
Yes, correct.
And I would hope that the total would be somewhat the longs take care of the shorts.
Correct,
So
yes.
we come up somewhere in that general range for the savings. And I think we would be rather naive to take that figure as it sets as saying that is the figure. It's going to be someplace.
Mhm. Correct.
And it's going to be some savings. And then I look at the costs up here. And first we come up with that 4.8 million. Now, that would go to what? The equipment and that would come from a single source?
Most of it would go to Lantis Gear. However, the top line would also have different vendors for the radio tower, as well as land for the radio tower areas.
Okay, that's the
Yeah.
communications network?
Correct.
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
What about meter hardware?
Meter Lantis Gear.
Now, is that best guess?
We have a bid from them.
A bid.
Yes, we
You
do.
have more than a bid.
Well, it was a public bidding process, so we had, we have staff of bids, 6 bidders, and so they're the ones that came out on top. So, yes,
That's a low number, or is that best equipment?
that's the best equipment according to the specs
Yeah, okay.
of what was needed.
It's the best number, lowest number for the best equipment.
For our terrain,
Okay.
yes,
Because, we only get to go down this road.
that's right. Yeah, and Terry,
Better,
yeah,
do it right.
that's correct.
Stuff that's got some loopholes in it.
yeah, and Terry might want to talk to that.
Yeah, that 3.9 million was part of the bid. We gave them the number of meters that we had of each kind, and they gave us a bid for those meters that came with the communications module in them. So that's a pretty close number. That's darn near that. And Landis and Gear meters are very good meters. They've been around for a long time. A lot of the other grid modernization companies use their meters for their systems. They just put a different communications module in them to communicate with their system. But Landis and Gear meters are pretty universal.
think what you're looking at and selecting is, for lack of a better term, the most bulletproof you can get?
Yes. And they weren't the most expensive meters either. They're a good meter, and so we got the best of both worlds, I think. We got a good price on them, and they're a very good meter.
Okay. How many vendors will be selected to totally, how many different, there's different things, different lines, different vendors that have, or one vendor everything that within the selection process?
Well, we'll be doing Lantis gear, and then we'll look at the radio project separate, and then NISC is a different software vendor.
Okay.
So,
That's
yeah,
one question.
but
I'm not arguing with it, I'm just
yeah,
curious.
wondering, yeah. Mhm.
Landis and Gear will pretty much cover the one-stop shopping for the grid modernization project.
You have a question, Bruce? I have a question, kind of switch gears a little bit and focus on the customer benefit.
Yeah,
And we can talk just briefly about that.
sure.
You know, I've talked to Patty Kleitz with the Faith Action and Welfare there, and then the Coalition of Churches in the Welfare area. And one of the most common things that are done through these organizations is to assist people that have difficulty paying their bills. And so if somebody of your staff and yourself are going to talk about the benefit of reconnecting, one thing that was pointed out was that the hardest part to assist people who were in trouble was the cost of the reconnection cost.
Yes.
And so I wonder how this new system would be able to benefit those people that are in economic distress.
Yeah. We can have Diane talk about it as well, but part of it is we're hoping we'll get to the point where we will not have to hold a deposit for those people because they'll be on, we want to get to the prepay aspect of things so that they will prepay ahead and not have to do deposits. And that's a big stumbling block for people that don't have money to begin with. So I'll let Diane continue.
Okay, so can you hear me okay? All right, perfect. So yeah, the cost for disconnect and reconnect, of course, right now we have to roll a truck for it and send somebody out. And a lot of times it's after hours, which increases that cost too. So with if you do an automated disconnect, reconnect, it can be done for a lot less to the customer. That's the same with even like the prepay, we're able to go to that because that can be done automatically. So once they make a payment, it can, there's software that would tell the meter it's okay to turn it back on. So you are, bringing the cost
So
down.
we would be able to take third-party prepayment for distressed customers, and we work seamlessly through the paying of the
Meter, yeah. We can also, because that's interesting when you say third party, because a lot of times we get a check from them, so it wouldn't be so automated, like what I was saying, where if they were making a credit card payment, but we have that option to override things, so it doesn't have to be totally automatic either, so we could go in and push a button and say, yes, you can turn it back on, just from talking to the third party, so.
My other question in regards to the customer benefit is for bill management. What kind of information in real time can benefit the customer by understanding in real time the power usage of the system?
Yeah. Well, NISC is a software provider that most utilities are using now that is a cooperative. And so many utilities in the state of Washington are using that vendor, and there's applications now that you can have on your phone that people, I guess us, can look at, and that's the exciting part of this now, that I believe that they're moving to where you can see when you're done and used up your power, maybe things like that. So I'm not sure if all those things have been completely developed, but that's where it's moving towards. So that's what a low-income person really needs to see, that while they've used up all their power, they need to fill the meter. I'm hoping that we could get to kiosks so they could get to a 24-hour place, fill up their kiosk, their power meter, and that. But this is the first step with an automatic meter to get there. It takes a few years to get through the whole process, but this is the first step to that.
Can I chime in on another customer benefit?
Yes.
So, Tom, you mentioned how a customer's usage would be able to help them out with their billing process. And I think one of the things that I'm excited about in this grid modernization is that we can look at a customer's usage, what their historical was, and we can set parameters that basically set an alarm or an alert. Oh, you're using a lot more power this month than you have for the last several years, and that could send them a signal that maybe something's wrong. So customers that have heat pumps, if your heat pump in the middle of the winter is failing or goes bad, now your backup strip heat is heating your home, and that's really costly, especially if you're used to a heat pump energy bill. And so right now, some customers don't get that notification that something's wrong until they get a high electric bill. Call the conservation department. Conservation department goes out and says, well, your heat pump's broken. You need to call the heating contractor. Now they have to get on their schedule. And so if we could eliminate some of those, 3, 4, maybe even 5 weeks of delay, our customers could be saving money on unnecessary high heating bills. And I think that's one example of how the grid modernization can really help a customer, our customers, defer some of that high cost of power.
Yeah.
What's envisioned as a timeline on this?
Well, we're looking to do all the installs in-house, so it might take 18 to 24 months. We're not exactly sure.
That's start to finish?
Yes. The system, as far as the NISC, as for that part of the system integration for customer service might take longer. We're not sure how far that will take, but the automatic meter reading part should take that long.
Okay, what employee special training is going to be involved?
The AMR. Lantis Bureau is going to come out and train, so Terry might know. Okay.
Yes, they will supply us a project manager to oversee the project, and along with the purchase of all their equipment and the software, they will supply a certain amount of employee training that's built into the contract. And I forget what it is.
Is the vendor that you're talking about?
Lantis Bureau.
Yes, Lantis here, yes. And so their contract will include the necessary training to run the software and the hardware.
So it's my understanding that we're going to kind of do a test area at first, like Mountain View or
We're
something.
looking at doing a complete meter route
Right.
in the Mountain View area. And so it's close by, and we'll be able to put a collector at the Mountain View Colo, which will enable us to have the backhaul of the data, meter data back to here. So we'll be able to get a complete system running with short travel. So the object is to get the data from the meter all the way back to the customer service. And once that is done for that route, then we'll expand out and go.
So I was going to maybe do like 1 or 2 billing cycles to make sure it all works pretty seamlessly before we
Yes,
expand from there. Or just
we'll make sure it's working the way that it's
Yeah.
supposed to before we expand on it.
There's a substantial amount of savings by moving forward over a 10-year period. How would you anticipate utilizing the revenues that are free now? How would we move forward with that?
Well, as we all know, Montville Power keeps increasing the cost, so, of power. So it doesn't, yeah, that's right. So it reduces the power cost is what it does, you know. So it will offset the increase to the power cost. So anytime we can reduce those line losses, we're a winner. And so that's what happens. You'll see that in the financials.
And the labor for off-cycle service calls, adjustments, that type of thing, be redirected to...
Yes, to other type of labor, things that we have pent up, things that we're doing. So now we're doing LED light installs, more fiber installs. We have so many other maintenance projects that we're doing. Yes. So more efficiencies.
One last question about Central Lincoln.
Yes.
In briefings, we talked about Central Lincoln and their experience. They're fully deployed,
They are.
and their geographical area is very similar to Wooded and Gilly.
Yes. Yeah, but they're closer to the beach. They're a lot more wind and
I'm
things.
very close to the beach too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yes. They're a very good example. There's many articles that have been written about them.
So the staff has studied their
They've done
experience.
site visits.
And were they, their grid modernization program was done by Landis here as well?
Yes. Yeah. Same equipment. Yeah. So it's been a success.
Yes.
And how long has that been fully deployed?
Yeah. 2 years.
At least 2
That's a
years.
long time.
Yeah.
We went down about a year and a half ago, so they've been running for 6 months or so.
Well, thank you, Dennis.
Yes.
Do we have any more questions? Lots more questions.
Yeah, we're always around, so feel free to ask later. Yeah, it's exciting, yeah.
I think that's probably the key point that we had this year is that this is like really good news for a lot of people,
Yes,
and that we are moving forward into technology that's a benefit to the utility, to the customers, and the measures. Moving forward with the technological advances, it's a good thing for our communities.
yes.